Heal Your Inner Self: How to Guarantee Dramatic Improvements in the Results You Are Obtaining from Life, by Dr. Uche Akuba, LCE, Chairman, World Morning Star Association. Preface. I came in contact with the message of the Morning Star in 4-10 MSD, 1990 AD, and found it truly extraordinary. Since then, I have taught it to many, including to fellow prisoners during my years of incarceration in the federal prisons of the United States. A number of the students had earned the reward, so they understood and applied what they learned. As a result, they received the healing of their damaged inner selves and also began to experience dramatic improvements in the results they were obtaining from life. Free information given. The audio recording of the message of the Morning Star first became available in 4-04 MSD 1996 AD. It was distributed free of charge. In written form, the message was given free on the internet for more than 4 years, beginning in 9-00 MSD 2000 AD. Need for a book. In spite of those endeavors, vast millions are still unaware that the message has even arrived. Therefore, it became necessary to write Heal Your Inner Self in order to bring to a wider audience the message's unique and nurturing benefits. The benefits include the healing of your inner self, dramatic improvements in the results you are obtaining from life, and true stress relief. If you have earned the reward, you will also find in Chapter 1 how to A. Achieve success in life, B. Obtain complete happiness, and C. Receive total fulfillment. And after Chapter 6, you will perform the Book of Anger process, a unique procedure that's 100% guaranteed to heal any damaged inner self every single time. Yours will be no exception. Hear the message. But no matter how useful you may find this manual, it does not even begin to approach the exceptional value of the message of the Morning Star itself. You should therefore hear the message through studying the book titled The Message of the Morning Star by the same author. You should also listen every day to a different section of the message's audio recording. When you do, you will experience inner growth and receive the kind of successful, fulfilling, low-stress life about which others can only dream. There is nothing else like it, anywhere. A beautiful and rewarding surprise awaits all who follow these suggestions. Dr. Uche Akuba, LCE, Tuesday, July 4th, 9-06 MSD, 2006 AD, New York City. Introduction. The Impossible Guarantee. The message of the Morning Star, officially introduced at the WIMSA Life Improvement Lecture, absolutely guarantees dramatic improvements in the results anyone is obtaining from life. Anyone, every time. Why does the message insist on this seemingly impossible guarantee? Because one of the reasons the message is here is to deliver the extraordinary result it so boldly guarantees. But how can the message deliver such an impossible result? Simple. By revealing the natural law that controls the results you are obtaining from life. Understand and apply the rules of that natural law, and dramatic improvements follow automatically as night follows day, It is that precise. Just as a scientific demonstration of gravity will yield predictable results for those who understand and apply the rules of the natural law of gravity, you will experience dramatic improvements in the results you are obtaining from life when you understand and apply the rules of the natural law the message reveals. Because natural law never fails to deliver. A unique feature of all natural laws is that it makes no difference if you are a skeptic, and it matters not a whit whether you are religious or not. And if you are religious, it makes no difference whatsoever what your religion may be. All that matters in natural law is that you apply its unchanging rules. In Chapter 1, titled The Universal Reward Accounting System, and in Chapter 2, titled The Power of Forgiveness and the Role of Apology, this manual reveals the applicable natural law, presents its rules, and shows exactly how to apply them. In other words, this manual introduces you directly to what the message is here to do. First, heal your inner self. To experience dramatic improvements in the results you are obtaining from life, you need to first heal your damaged inner self. Once the healing is complete, you will also receive a multitude of other benefits promised by the message. Because when you deal with the message of the morning star, you deal only with absolute, unchangeable natural law. Therefore, for greater success the rest of your life, you need only to know, understand, and apply what this manual will now reveal. Chapter 1, The Universal Reward Accounting System. Natural law requires every person to answer for everything he or she does. As a result, the source of all things rewards you for your good deeds and punishes you for your evil deeds. In order for this never-changing requirement to be fulfilled with absolute fairness, your every deed and intent are observed, assessed, and recorded. Then they are judged and rewarded or punished. That takes high-volume processing. It needs complex information gathering and detailed accounting. Both tasks are fully and carefully performed by what is, in effect, the source's huge information gathering, analysis, and storage system. We now know it as the Universal Reward Accounting System. Since this accounting system was established by the source, it must necessarily function under natural law, which is, of course, unchangeable. That is why every person lives under the perpetual, automatic operation of the Universal Reward Accounting System. No one can be exempt. This information from report number 16, titled How the Source Rewards or Punishes You for Your Deeds, in the book From the Writing Desk of the Teacher, Volume 2, by the same author. It is essential to fully realize that nothing can exist outside the Universal Reward Accounting System. Nothing. Now, if you understand how the system works, this manual will show you how, and if you apply that understanding to your daily life, the result will be as if you are out walking on a cold, dark winter night, shivering as you walk. You turn a corner, and all of a sudden, you find yourself in the warm noonday comfort of a bright summer day. In real life, it's even better. Point value accounting needed. The source established the Universal Reward Accounting System to be absolutely fair and just in every possible way. To enable the system to meet and maintain that exceptionally demanding requirement, the source gave every deed and the intent behind the deed a value in points. That value, named point value, is a number. Its size depends on the type and significance of the deed or intent that earns it. Always. The point value of good deeds is named reward points. The point value of evil deeds is 2 demerit point values named negative reward points and punishment points. Deeds which are neither good nor evil are, as you might expect, named neutral deeds. And as you probably suspect, they have no point value. Example of a neutral deed: clipping your own nails. Point value is so critical, the teacher recommends you reread this section till you fully understand it. The 3 types of deeds and intents. You may have rightly seen from the previous section that there are only 3 possibilities with any deed or intent. A deed must be either 1, a good deed, 2, an evil deed, or 3, a neutral deed. Similarly, an intent must be either 1, a good intent, 2, an evil intent, or 3, a neutral intent. As you now know, good deeds earn reward points. Evil deeds earn negative reward points and punishment points, and neutral deeds are only noted. They earn no points in the universal reward accounting system. What's a good deed? A good deed is anything of value which you do for someone else. As examples, if you give $1 to a beggar, that is a good deed. If you explain a difficult lesson to a child, that is a more important good deed. The point value of a good deed is larger if the good deed is more important or more difficult to do. Note, since the intent behind any deed is monitored in the reward accounting system, a good intent can, in fact, be recorded as a good deed. The following example shows how. You plan to treat Andrew to lunch, and you confirm it on the phone just before you leave for his office. On arrival, you discover that he has a serious office emergency and cannot go. You will still receive reward points for treating Andrew to lunch, though you never did. Your genuine good intent is counted as a good deed done by you. What's an evil deed? An evil deed is the opposite of a good deed. The point value of an evil deed is larger if the evil deed is more serious. Notice that while good deed is always written with initial uppercase letters, evil deed is always written in lowercase letters. Example of evil deeds: stealing. Now consider this. If, without your employer's permission, you took home an office pencil for your personal use, you stole that pencil. Again, since the intent behind every deed is monitored in the universal reward accounting system, your evil intent can be counted and recorded as an evil deed done by you. The following example shows how. You are required to testify as a witness in a court trial. For reasons you consider important, you decide you will lie against the accused person in hopes of helping the accuser. The trial is canceled, so you don't testify or actually lie. What happens then? You will be punished for bearing false witness, a major evil deed, though you had only the intent. Your evil intent to lie is assessed and recorded as an evil deed done by you. The exact point value of a deed. The teacher says that the exact point value of any particular deed or intent is not known and may never be. You should, however, always remember that the universal reward accounting system is absolutely fair and just. You will therefore always receive the exact point value you earn, whether they are reward points or bonus reward points, negative reward points or punishment points. You will never receive less or more. What's a reward? A reward is every good thing you can see, feel, smell, hear, taste, or otherwise experience in your life. In the universal reward accounting system, each reward has a price in reward points, though the exact price of any particular reward is not known and may never be. Note this: the complete understanding of any previously hidden truth about life is known as clarity, or more fully, as clarity of understanding. And since clarity is something good, it follows that clarity is a reward in the reward accounting system. If you have earned clarity about rewards, you will receive great benefits from this chapter. If you do not have enough reward points for that reward, you will find a good reason to do nothing with the information presented here. You may even see no real value in this handbook. That's one reason all message books have a 100% money-back guarantee. Please reread this section. Be sure you fully understand what rewards are and what happens when you do not have enough reward points for them. Later on, you will see how to earn an abundance of reward points. What's a punishment? Any bad thing you can see, feel, smell, touch, hear, taste, or otherwise experience in your life can be a punishment. But not always. Some bad things are definitely not punishments. Some bad things happen to people in order to educate such people. Note that a punishment you have earned may also be the punishable evil deed of a person or persons who, in the exercise of their free will, chose to deliver that punishment to you. This means that if delivering a punishment is an evil deed, the person who delivers that punishment will be punished for delivering it. Pause here for a moment. Think about these facts. Absorb their full meaning. When does your reward or punishment begin? If you earn a reward or a punishment, exactly when does that reward or punishment actually begin? Is there a final day of judgment when you must appear in front of a supreme judge to answer for all your deeds, good or evil, before your rewards or punishments can begin? The answer may surprise you. Contrary to what some may have been led to believe, says the message of the Morning Star, your reward or punishment always begins in this life, not later. Now, not in a future existence. If your reward or punishment is not completed in this life, it continues in a future existence, but it always begins in this life. In those ringing words, the message reveals exactly when rewards or punishments begin. It means that the constant, minute-by-minute observation, assessment, and recording of all your deeds and intents, as well as their judging, all take place in this life, not later. Your punishments or rewards then follow, also in this life. So everything you decide to do or actually do is observed, assessed, recorded, and judged. You can repent of them if you like, but you cannot change or cancel them. They were all instantly analyzed and judged with no chance of appeal. Notice, too, that if your reward or punishment is not completed in this life, that reward or punishment continues in your future existence. In other words, death does not end at all. Death is simply a normal and expected return to the other side of immortality. And on the other side, the universal reward accounting system is as unavoidable as it is on this side. Creation of the reward accounting system and of immortal spirits. In How the Source Rewards or Punishes You for Your Deeds, report number 16 in the book titled From the Writing Desk of the Teacher, Volume 2, by the same author, the teacher states that 15 billion years ago, the Source created from its own energy, A, the reward accounting system, and B, immortal beings known as spirits. The Source puts a spirit in each creature and stays in touch with each creature through that creature's own spirit. There is, therefore, a spirit in every creature to enable each creature to stay in touch with the Source. Therefore, the Source is in constant touch with you through your own human spirit. Important note: the message refers to the Source as it with a capital I, because the message says the Source of all things is neither a he nor a she. For that reason, this manual refers to the Source, the Creator, and nature as it. What's the great work of the ages? Many do not yet know about the great work of the ages. It is the ages-old endeavor to make planet Earth a perfect place through the willing leadership of its dominant species. The message of the Morning Star says that 200 million years ago, the Source concluded that dinosaurs, who were the dominant species at the time, had failed as leaders of the great work of the ages, partly because of their very violent ways. So the Source chose to make humankind dominant, and via that choice, the new leader of the great assignment. If we humans fail, we too will become extinct, and another species will be given the opportunity to try. Perhaps termites, already well organized, may be upgraded in size and in other necessary ways and assigned the leadership task. The teacher says the message is here to help humankind succeed. Age and immortality of human spirits. Based on the date each spirit was created, the apparent age of spirits vary. But since every spirit is, as you already know, created from the one energy of the Source itself, each spirit, whether human or not, is indeed as old as the Source. The Source creates spirits as needed, and once created, spirits cannot die. Therefore, all spirits, such as tree spirits, animal spirits, rock spirits, and human spirits, are immortal. What's the future of your immortal human spirit? What lies ahead for your human spirit? What eventually happens to your spirit since it cannot die? The answer may surprise you. When a spirit completes its tasks and its earned punishments, and provided it has enough reward points in its account, it becomes deeply and completely fulfilled, a state we humans can only imagine. It then voluntarily and joyfully returns to and is welcomed by the Source from where it came. Every spirit has a reward account. Whenever the Source creates a spirit, the Source also creates a reward account for that spirit. Therefore, every spirit has a reward account in the universal reward accounting system. You have a reward account. It belongs to your human spirit. Every person has a reward account in the universal reward accounting system. Your personal reward account is the personal reward account of the human spirit that is now alive as you, the spirit that is keeping your present human body alive. So, at the end of your present life as a person on earth, your reward account stays with your immortal spirit for whom it was first created. Every creature has absolute free will. The Source of all things chose to give an absolute free will to each and everything created. Since that free will is absolute, every creature may do whatever it chooses. The only limit to free will is the way the creature's body is built. For example, an elephant may choose to fly with eagles, but since it was built without wings, it cannot fly. The restrictions imposed by its body structure limit its otherwise absolute free will. Free will comes with obligations. There are unavoidable obligations for any creature when it chooses to do or not do a deed. In other words, the exercise of any creature's free will has consequences which that creature cannot escape. Pause and think about your life. Who keeps your reward account? The immortal spirits of the best of your departed ancestors are assigned to observe, assess, and judge your every deed and intent while you are awake. They record the data in your reward account while you sleep. The task of observing, assessing, recording, and judging of your every deed and intent is known as tracking. Ancestors see a tracking assignment as an important reward and are very happy to receive it. For ancestors, tracking is a pleasant, easy task. Plus, it gives them the opportunity to earn reward points. Your assigned ancestors are always with you, 24 hours a day, monitoring your every intent and your every deed round the clock. They cheerfully and faithfully perform their tracking duties without ever a break, so you cannot keep any secrets from them. The same ancestors who process and record your deeds and intents and arrange your rewards and punishments also ensure that your rewards and punishments are fair and just. They keep every reward and every punishment always in proportion. Always. Note again that since tracking goes on every second of every day with never a break, it is absolutely impossible to hide anything you do, even the deeds you do in complete privacy, certain that you are all alone. You are never alone. As the message says, if you know it, your ancestors know it. Who assigns the ancestors that track your deeds and intents? The message tells us that it is angels who assign the very best of your ancestors to tracking duties. The ancestors so assigned stay with that pleasant duty until they earn a promotion to a higher position. The message also tells us that most angels were once ancestors who, because they were completely fair and just in their work as ancestors, earned the top promotion to angel. And so they were promoted. Angels are also known as deities and as aggregated spirits of ancestors. The ancestors that angels select for tracking duties are the immortal spirits of your own ancestors who, during their last lifetime as human beings, had performed exceptionally well in the reward accounting system. They had done so well that at the end of that lifetime, the reward points in their reward accounts had earned them the major reward. The major reward is a promotion to ancestor, and on the other side, they were so promoted and given the highly desirable assignment of tracking. Ancestors who have been rewarded with tracking duties are also known as Holy Ghosts and Holy Spirits. Every new baby's tracking begins when that baby is old enough. As soon as an infant is old enough to know the difference between good and evil, the tracking of its every deed and intent begins. It is at that exact moment that its ancestors begin to observe, assess, and record its every deed and intent. Therefore, your ancestors have been tracking your every deed and intent since you were perhaps 18 months. If your life is fulfilling and happy, can you now begin to see why? Your ancestors tracked everything. If, on the other hand, your life is sad, stressful, miserable, and unhappy, Can you also begin to see what the cause might be? They really tracked everything. Ancestors and angels want to be perfectly fair and just. Every ancestor is as perfectly fair and just as he or she can possibly be. This is because every ancestor understands the reward accounting system, and since every ancestor is a spirit, he or she has a reward account and so chooses to do only what is right. The same is true of angels. Every angel fully understands the universal reward accounting system, of course, and has his or her own reward account too. Therefore, since angels also desire rewards, they choose to do good deeds at all times. Angels and ancestors are as close to being perfectly fair and just as any spirit can possibly be. Who maintains the reward accounts of ancestors and angels? An interesting question is, who maintains the reward accounts of ancestors and angels in the universal reward accounting system? Who tracks their deeds and intents? The message reveals that angels maintain the reward accounts of ancestors, and the source maintains the reward accounts of angels. Wisdom from the message of the morning star. One of the most significant rewards from the message of the morning star is this wisdom. If you want to improve the results you are obtaining from life, do more good deeds and no evil deeds. Important as this is, it is quite simple and quite old. How many times have you heard that what goes around comes around? Or that as you sow, so shall you reap? Such is the simplicity of great wisdom. Does any and every creature really have a reward account? As the message reveals, every creature has an immortal spirit, separate from its physical body. This means that trees, rivers, rocks, cars, grass, even superheated gases speeding in a particle accelerator, being creatures, all have immortal spirits. So everything, human-made or not, has an immortal living spirit. Since every creature has an immortal spirit, it follows that it has free will, and so its own individual reward account. Consequently, cities, clubs, schools, business organizations, and nations, for example, all have their own free will and their own reward accounts in the universal reward accounting system, just as do the individuals whose lives they touch. The system is so totally capable it tracks any and everything, including creatures created by yet other creatures, ad infinitum. Shared group deeds, group rewards, and group punishments. When a country or nation does good deeds, it earns reward points. And when it does evil deeds, it earns negative reward points and punishment points, just as a person does. Good deeds done by a group, such as a country, are group good deeds. Evil deeds done by a group are group evil deeds. Countries therefore earn group rewards and group punishments. When a country, for example, is enjoying group rewards for its group good deeds, or is under group punishment for its group evil deeds, the country shares the rewards or punishments with its individual nationals. The sharing is in exact proportion to each national's contribution to the group deed that earned the country's group reward or group punishment. Pause. Think about your country. Conditions for receiving rewards. Before you can receive a reward, that reward must fulfill two conditions. 1, you must have the reward points, and 2, the reward must pass the fairness and justice test. 1, you must have the reward points. Every reward costs so many reward points in the universal reward accounting system. Therefore, if you want a particular reward, you must buy it with the reward points already present in your reward account. You cannot borrow a reward or buy it on credit. As a result, if you do not have the reward points sitting in your reward account, no amount of wishing, affirmations, chanting, visualizations, or prayer can bring even a tiny reward to you. This is why so many affirmations, chanting, visualizations, and prayers usually get a no answer. Pause and think about that. Consider this. Overall good health is a reward. If you do not have the reward points for the reward of good health, the best health professionals will not be able to help you. If you have earned the reward of overall good health, you will have good health. You may, however, still have, say, weak eyesight. The weak eyesight has not really diminished your reward of overall good health, but it is something bad sent to you either as a punishment or for your education. A Morning Star practitioner can tell you exactly which one it is. See the profession Morning Star practitioner on page 96. 2. The fairness and justice test. The rewards you seek must be fair and just, or you will never be able to receive them. As a result of what you now know about rewards, you should understand quite clearly that A. You cannot receive a reward by promising to provide the reward points later. Credit is not available. It is cash and carry. B. Unfair or unjust rewards are not obtainable at any price. No number of reward points will enable you to receive a reward if that reward is unfair or unjust. Why the source established the universal reward accounting system. Do you sometimes wonder why the source established the universal reward accounting system? The purpose is to encourage every creature on planet Earth to do large numbers of good deeds and no evil deeds. If they do, the planet will become a perfect place within 24 hours. Planet Earth will reach perfection only if its inhabitants, led by the dominant species, willingly do what is right. If the dominant species fails as leader, that dominant species is downgraded or made extinct, and another is created or upgraded to take its place. Dinosaurs were the dominant species. They failed and so became extinct. Humans, now dominant, get to try. Another reason the source created the system is to answer the persistent ages-old question by individuals. Why should I do the great work of the ages? A perfect planet Earth is great, but it's unlikely to happen in my lifetime. So what's in the great work of the ages for me now? Why should I bother? The twofold purpose of the universal reward accounting system is the reason the point value of every evil deed is 2 demerits. First, as you already know, an evil deed earns negative reward points which cancel reward points of equal value from your reward account. And second, as you also know, the same evil deed also earns punishment points. Punishment points guarantee a definite and separate punishment for each evil deed you do. You can save up your reward points. You may be pleasantly surprised to know that you can save up your reward points as if they were money and spend them later. If you are seeking several rewards with different prices in reward points, you can save up your reward points until you have enough to buy any particular reward you want, even if that reward costs more than any other on your list. Procedure for saving up and using your saved reward points. You probably suspect that saving up your reward points will make it possible to receive rewards in the order in which you want them. It does. The ability to choose the order of rewards is in itself a valuable reward. Now, how can you avoid squandering your reward points on cheaper rewards when the big, high-priced reward is the one you want first? You can do so by taking these 2 steps. 1. Make a reward list of all the rewards you happen to be seeking at this time. You may write your list, but know that a reward list does not have to be in writing. A written list will, however, make it easier for you to view the rewards on your list at any given time. 2. Arrange the rewards on your reward list in the order in which you want to receive them. You can change the order at any time. Each time you make a new list or change an old one, your assigned ancestors promptly accept and record it in your reward account. But note this: your assigned ancestors accept and record your list only if your reward account has reward points in it. If all you have in your reward account are negative reward points and punishment points, your account is in negative balance. If your reward account is in negative balance, your ancestors will automatically reject and ignore your reward list until your reward account returns to positive balance. Your reward account will return to positive balance only after you have done enough good deeds and no evil deeds to wipe out the deficit. Always remember that. If you build a reward list as described here, your reward points will be spent on rewards only in the order in which you want them. If you do not build a reward list, your reward points will be used up in a haphazard manner. You may therefore never receive your big rewards because your few reward points will be squandered on cheap, frivolous rewards. Not building a reward list is the same as if instead of saving up your money to pay your college tuition, you are squandering your money on candy and cigarettes. You can give reward points as gifts. Note this surprising fact: you can give your reward points to someone else as a gift. Of course, giving your reward points away is a good deed. You cannot, however, lend reward points or borrow them, but you can give them away. Angels can lend reward points and can also take them back. Humans and ancestors cannot. How does the giving away of reward points work? The 6 points below show how. 1. The person to whom you want to give the reward points must have earned the reward of receiving transferred reward points. If not, your reward points will come back to you, always with a bonus. If they come back, they will come back with a bonus because your genuine attempt to give your reward points away is rewarded in the reward accounting system as a good deed done by you. 2. You make a conscious, free will gift of, say, 20% of the reward points required to regain good health after, say, a surgical operation. Once you have given your reward points to someone who can accept them, they are forever gone from your account. You cannot take them back if you change your mind. So as soon as the reward points you are giving away are accepted, they are gone forever. 3. You can give reward points away by A. Making a strong, good wish in someone else's favor, B. Making a definite wish to give reward points, or C. Chanting a mantra or praying for someone else to receive a reward. This third method of giving reward points away is one of the very few times when mantra chanting or prayer has genuine value. The message itself reveals the power of prayer. See page 107. 4. The best way to give reward points is by making a deliberate wish to do so, because you can then also choose what percentage of the needed reward points you are giving away. If you do not choose the exact percentage, you may find that you have given most of your reward points to a qualified but very needy person. 5. You can give away your reward points only if you have any. And of course, you cannot give more than you have. And finally, 6. The reward points you give away may come from the reward points you have been saving for a reward you really need. Therefore, when you offer to give your reward points away, you should first understand the full meaning of what you are doing. Who or what are guardian angels? Do you sometimes speak of your guardian angels? And do you think of them as kindly spirits who would protect you from injury and, if necessary, give you an edge over your colleagues, friends, family, and neighbors? Do you now realize that you are, in other words, expecting your guardian angels to protect you from the harm you have caused yourself by doing evil deeds? Such protection is not possible because spirits who can protect a creature from the universal reward accounting system cannot exist. Your ancestors cannot be your guardian angels because ancestors will not be partial, and they cannot break natural law. So know now that guardian angels do not exist. How to best utilize your knowledge of the reward accounting system. In order to put what you now know about the universal reward accounting system to the best possible use in your life, you should immediately make 4 specific changes. 1. Draw up a number 1 reward list. Make a reward list of all the rewards you want. The rewards can be in any order, but the list should be as complete as you can make it. Include both big and small rewards. 2. Make a number 2 reward list. You will now arrange the rewards on your number 1 list in the order in which you want to receive them. Place the first reward you want to receive at the top of this list, then the second, etc. This is your number 2 list. If you change your mind about the order in which you want your rewards, simply go back to this list and make the necessary changes. 3. Do good deeds. Begin to do good deeds in every situation in which you find yourself. Do not be choosy or stingy with doing good deeds, because every good deed you do brings proportionate reward points to only yourself. The person who benefits most from your own good deeds is always you. A great many people fail here because they are reluctant or unwilling to do good deeds. Be strongly reminded now that every good deed you do for someone else, you are actually doing for yourself, because the reward points for every good deed you do will always go into your own reward account. The reward points will go into your reward account even if the person to whom you did your good deed does not thank you or is not even aware that it was you who did the good deed. Remember that your assigned ancestors are always with you, and they observe, assess, record, and reward every good deed and punish every evil deed. As you already know, the most important good deeds naturally earn the largest reward points. Among the most important are A. Dismantling and discarding your book of anger. It is the most important good deed you can do. This manual will show you how. It is also the only deed you do for yourself that counts as a good deed in the universal reward accounting system. B. Honoring your parents and elders. And C. Becoming a Morning Star volunteer. Are you wondering what else to do that would be good deeds in the reward accounting system and so earn you reward points? WIMSA has a list of over 70 good deed ideas. They are in Good Deeds list of 73 suggestions. The message advises that you do at least 8 good deeds every day. If you are seeking big rewards, 8 good deeds a day will not be nearly enough. You must do many more. After all, you are really doing all your good deeds for yourself, and the reward points they earn are yours to spend on the rewards you want. Know also that good deeds are very powerful indeed. There are well-known business people who do a great many evil deeds, but they are wise enough to also do large numbers of good deeds. Some of them refer to their good deeds as a giving back. That is why, in spite of their excessive nastiness, they are able to keep great rewards flowing into their lives. A famous example of business people who do a large number of good deeds is Mr. John D. Rockefeller. He once said, "Make all the money you can, keep all the money you can, and give away all the money you can." Here was a known, hard-as-nails businessman who recognized the awesome power of good deeds and put that power to his own personal use. 4. Stop doing evil deeds altogether. Evil deeds cost you valuable reward points and bring you guaranteed punishments every single time. Therefore, stop doing evil deeds altogether. They are simply too expensive. The table on the next page is a list of 20 common evil deeds you should do your best to avoid altogether. Do not do any of them even when the temptation is strong. List taken from Message of the Morning Star, Part 1 in the book, The Message of the Morning Star, by the same author. Brief information on the book appears on page 107. 1. Being unfair and unjust. 2. Taking what is not yours, that is, stealing or robbery. 3. Killing people intentionally, that is, murder. 4. Assuming the worst in others. 5. Breaching the privacy of others. 6. Acid tongue. 7. Being the first to start any violence. 8. Intentionally destroying property. 9. Spreading false rumors. 10. Spreading news to cause or increase racial hatred. 11. Refusing to nurture your child. 12. Wishing other people ill. 13. Damaging the environment. 14. Failing to honor your father and your mother. 15. Oppressing people. 16. Ruling other nations. 17. Gossiping. 18. Cruelty. 19. Bearing false witness. 20. Telling any lies. What the system does when you reach out to do a good deed. In the Universal Reward Accounting System, 1. Every good deed you do is a reward earned by the recipient of your good deed. 2. A person can receive a particular reward only if his or her reward account already has the reward points for that reward. 3. You can give your reward points away intentionally, and you can give them away unintentionally when you don't mean to give them away. Because of those 3 unchangeable rules, a serious question arises. When you reach out to do a good deed, are you, without actually meaning to do so, also giving your reward points to the intended recipient of your good deed if he or she does not already have enough reward points for the reward? The paragraphs numbered 1 through 3 below provide the answer to this crucial question. 1. When you reach out to do a good deed, you are doing only the good deed you intend to do. You do not, without meaning to do so, give your reward points to the recipient of your intended good deed simply because he or she needs more reward points to cover the reward. 2. If the intended recipient does not have enough reward points already in his or her reward account to cover the reward, he or she will not receive the reward. This means that the good deed you intend to do will not be completed. 3. Since your intent to do the good deed is genuine, You will receive proportionate reward points for the attempt. Your reward points in such a case will not be as large as they would have been had your good deed been completed. The following 3 examples will further clarify the 3-part answer above. Let us say that someone you know is on a visit to your city. You decide to do a good deed by cooking her favorite meal at your home and taking it to her at her hotel. 3 possible situations can arise. Situation A. You call her hotel to give her the good news about your intended good deed, only to be told that she had just checked out. What happens then? You will receive reward points for your genuine intent. Situation B. You call her hotel and tell her about your plan to cook and bring her favorite meal to her. She's somewhat surprised but very happy. She's looking forward to the meal. You go grocery shopping and cook the meal. Before you leave your home for her hotel, you decide to bring ice cream for dessert, so you call to see if she prefers the vanilla to the chocolate flavor. You are told that she has suddenly checked out after a phone call from her office. In this situation, though you never delivered the meal, you will receive proportionate reward points for the incomplete good deed. Your reward points here will be more than the points in situation A, because in this case, situation B, you completed more parts of the intended good deed. Situation C. You call her hotel and give her the good news about your intended good deed. She's very happy. She's looking forward to the meal you promise. You go grocery shopping and cook the meal. Before you leave your home for her hotel, you decide to buy ice cream for dessert, so you call to see if she prefers the vanilla to the chocolate flavor. She prefers the vanilla. Therefore, you buy 2 large cups of the most delicious vanilla ice cream. At the hotel, she enjoys the meal and is very thankful. What happens in this 3rd situation? You will receive reward points for the completed good deed. The reward points will be more than the reward points in either of the 2 previous situations, because in situation C, your intended good deed is now a completed good deed. What do these 3 examples mean? They mean that in situations A and B, your intended recipient did not have the necessary reward points in her reward account. In situation C, she did. You can therefore draw 3 valid conclusions. 1. You do not automatically give your reward points to the intended recipient of your good deed unless you deliberately choose to do so. 2. Each time you genuinely reach out to do a good deed, you earn reward points just for reaching out. 3. Your reward points are larger if your good deed is completed. Now note this. When you wish or pray for a person to receive a reward, you give your reward points to that person automatically, but only if the reward will not be your own personal good deed. Your reward points will go to the person even if you have not actually chosen to give them away. This happens because in such cases, your genuine wish or prayer is interpreted in the Universal Reward Accounting System as a decision to give the required reward points. An example is when you wish or pray for a sick person to receive good health. See also the segment subtitled, You Can Give Reward Points as Gifts. Can you help ensure that your good deed is completed? To earn more reward points, you need all your intended good deeds completed. Is there something you can do to actually help ensure a completion? Can you help your recipient to definitely receive your good deed? Yes. Your ability to do something to help get a completion is based on the following facts. 1. No one knows the exact status of any reward account. And 2. Good deeds always earn reward points. 3. Your recipient must have the required reward points already in his or her reward account before the good deed you intend to do can be completed. Therefore, to help ensure that your good deed is completed, simply help your recipient to hold enough reward points in her reward account. Because if she has the required reward points already in place, the good deed will definitely be completed. The only way to ensure she has enough is to add more. The only way to ensure your recipient adds more reward points to her reward account without your giving her your own reward points is to introduce her to the universal reward accounting system. However, what she does with that introduction depends on the status of, you guessed it, her reward account. Clarity in this case is recognizing that relief will follow when one utilizes the reward accounting system. If she has not earned this one clarity, she will ignore the introduction and continue to earn and take more punishments. Always remember that. This is why some people will not welcome and utilize the reward accounting system when you introduce it to them. Of course, the introduction itself is an important good deed and so will earn you large reward points. Rewards will flow, but how soon? If you do enough good deeds and no evil deeds, beautiful rewards will flow into your new, lower stress, more fulfilling life. But how soon will the flow of rewards begin? That depends on A, the present status of your reward account, B, the total point value of the good deeds you now do, C, the total point value of the evil deeds you continue to do, D, the price of the rewards you seek, and E, the order in which you want your rewards. But even if you do not see an immediate flow of rewards, continue to do large numbers of good deeds anyway. You can never lose. The reward accounting system is always fair and just, and will always treat you exactly right. Testing the validity of the message. When you test the power and validity of the message of the morning star in your own life, as the message itself invites you to do, your reward account is automatically suspended while you conduct the test. You will therefore be able to see results that because of the poor or negative balance status of your reward account, you could not otherwise see. Once you complete the test, your reward account becomes automatically active again. This rare suspension of the reward accounting system is only apparent, not real. It is not proof that the Creator may break its own natural law to support a claim. The Creator never breaks or changes any natural law for anybody or anything. That has never happened and never will. What happens during your test of the power and validity of the message is that the angel Thoth lends any necessary reward points to your reward account. And once you have performed the test as required, he takes his reward points back. Angel Thoth is able to do this because, unlike humans and ancestors, angels have the ability, granted by the source, to lend and take back their reward points. Angel Thoth is happy and eager to lend his reward points for this purpose because, as the teacher tells us, Angel Thoth is the message of the morning star. End of chapter 1.